I've witnessed the growth of your writing ability, breath control. I want to talk about that. Breath control is crazy.
Yeah.
Flow, topics, and live performance, right? But first, I want to talk about your expansion of topics and being more open about your life experiences in your music.
Yeah.
When did you come to the point where you're not just analyzing outside? I know you analyze yourself, but you're
Mhm.
sharing the analysis of yourself.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
at what point or what song do you think you got comfortable where you're like, you know what,
Hmm.
I'm comfortable enough to share my experiences in my music?
Interesting question, and I can tell say really, I follow the thing from if the way I ask the question, and I appreciate of it because it's been a journey. It's like I'm always introspecting myself. So like my friends and family know I'm the type of person where I'm always a critique myself. But musically, I've always been like someone looking out at society. And no fight kind of it come from a place where when you kind of grow in what people could have said uptown or you grow a little bit more privileged, it's not easy to speak about your life in a way everybody can relate to it. When you come from the ghetto, you come from poverty, you speak about overcoming all of these things. People relate to that, people gravitate to that because that's the reality of most people. Most people who are consuming the music. When you talk about certain things and you kind of never have to worry about certain things. You have other issues. But it's like maturing as an artist, I realized that these other issues where I may have had, there's ways where people can relate to it as well without going into the typical thing about social status and all that, poverty and.
Fire, hold your argument, right? And I'm glad you said that because, especially in reggae and hip hop, there's this obsession with this ghetto life.
Yeah,
It's
man.
almost like if you didn't grow up in poverty, it's almost like you're not black to a certain extent. And you know how it go because
Yeah,
you've been amongst artists that grew up in certain places, but they have
yeah,
to talk about this even though that's not their experience. But
yeah.
continue though.
No, it's trust me, it's one of the unspoken things within music because if you grow uptown, you kind of have to just not talk about it because it get weird. It's like people assume that if you grow a certain way within a certain social
You
status
don't
that
have no problems. Oh, yeah.
you have no problems. But them also, there's two sides to it. People tend to feel like them better than people. And then you have people who assume say you think you're better than people. So you have to navigate those two things. So somebody like me now, my parents wasn't the richest, but me never have to worry about hunger and them kind of thing. You understand? Like certain basic things were met. So it's like I can't really I went through certain times in my life where the money never did it, yes. But at the same time I never had to deal with certain levels of hunger, certain levels of poverty, frustration and depression and all of them kind of things. So sometimes, like I get it. I get it because unless you go through that, it's hard to even speak on it. Or it's just like if somebody don't experience something. Like if you say, if you only visit Jamaica once or twice, you can't go up on some social media platform like you some expert on Jamaica. But if you live it now, it's like and our music as a culture around ghetto life and around. Because that's really where the music it stem from. Like having a way to express that take yourself out of the sufferation, as well as speaking against the political situation and all of this, the systematic things. So that's the culture within the music. That is why me now, I always took the approach of speaking out against these things. You know, for me, it never makes sense to sing about, driving, go school in a BMW and all. That never make no sense to me. It's like, no. So I choose to use my ability as a lyricist and my platform to speak against the injustice because from my view, I don't believe anybody should have to go through poverty and suffering. So if there's a way where we can balance the scales, so I use my music for channel that, and try to have an impact on that level.
But when did you get to the point that you started sharing your experiences?
I think I just growing as an artist because I think Gang's album Stony Hill was a revelation for me because he started to set certain things within his writing, and I was like, my situation and Gang's situation is not the same, but I could relate. You know what I mean? Like my daddy made it out. Like my father used to walk miles barefoot go school in Portland. You know, and him build up himself as a businessman, like grinding and just develop himself to having the first computer store in Jamaica. And I watched my father grow and develop as a businessman. So that inspired me. So I know the feeling of daddy made it out, you know. So, but speaking about being in Stony Hill and all, me have brethren who live at Stony Hill, so we usually par up this and we did there, I go to uptown party them, and so I can relate to that whole thing. So when I saw that now, I was like, I'm not necessarily take the same approach, but maybe I can find ways to be more honest about my reality. And I think Addiction was one of those songs where it really kind of speak to something where, this is something where me go through. Everybody went through it in COVID. You're stuck with your phone, and that's why I believe these diseases, none of these things have man-made elements to it. So I believe that there's a plan to get us all on, the technological wave. So everybody who wasn't on it before, they're on it now because they had to. Because you couldn't go nowhere. You had to use your phone. You had to order food through your phone. You had to get food delivered. You had to do all of these things. So it kind of speed up that process. So me being able to find a way to sing about my reality kind of stem from that growth where I talk about,
And the issue you experience, what black people experience, they put black people in a monolith. And I noticed that like there's a criteria for being black that is not necessarily up for fire.
Yeah, no, for sure.
The standard's pretty low, right?
No, for
and
sure.
if you don't grow with that low standard, it's almost like your black card is questioned.
No, definitely. And that's programming. We're programmed to think that way because they don't want black people thriving. If black people as a race thrive, the shift of the balance in the world would be different.
And I want to touch on the father thing, which I find very important. Mm-hmm. And I just find that this is universal. Fire, this is super accurate, right? Mm. Everyone who has an ambitious father, I'm not saying that they're ambitious, but they have the potential to be ambitious because they see the example.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of times you need to see that example for it to click in your brain. And that kind of makes sense because that doubt and fear, even he didn't have to say anything to you, but just observing the grind, it like really gets in your DNA.
No, for sure. You don't ever think about it. It's subconscious. And that's when we talk about the depression where the youth's facing. Just think about the family situation, quote unquote broken homes. And then even the US, there are certain policies that, governments use to kind of incentivize, women leaving a man, all of these kind of things. And I'm not blaming the women, of course, no for the man, them are some deadbeat that way, left the youth, them and are totally irresponsible and all of these things. So all of these things add up where the youth, them not seeing an example of a stable family situation. So that stability can soak in them DNA, as you said. And a lot of them things they lead to a lot of the stuff where you're seeing. A lot of the mix up stuff where you're seeing. The youth, them do have a stable example at home.